the weather forecast with Coloca in its multipurpose banquet hall, Il Palazzo.
Hello to everyone and thanks for this evening edition of the weather forecast. Throughout the national territory today, the weather will be quite calm, with temperatures going as low as 16 degrees. For instance, in the northwest, minimum temperature will be 17 degrees in the far north, and 19 degrees in the east. Now, in the south, temperatures will go as high as 26 degrees and 28 degrees in the southwest. So make sure you dress appropriately throughout the night. Now, let's continue in the littoral region, where temperatures will go as high as 28 degrees in the town of Edeya in the evening, but by morning, temperatures will drop to as low as 19 degrees in Konsamba. Now, let's continue in the Adamawa region, where the town of Menganga will have the highest temperature in the evening, but by morning, the town of Banyo will have the least temperature at 18 degrees. Now, let's finish with the northwest region, where the sky will be full of clouds throughout the evening, with the town of Bengui having as low as 18 degrees in the morning. Before we go, I'd like to invite you to go and visit the Shumlaka Cave in Bamenda, northwest region of the country. Thank you very much for watching this edition of the Weather Forecast. Goodbye.
Opening of the 2020 judicial year has taken place with Lord Justice Daniel Mekobe Sonny and Procurator General Luke Jodo calling for the protection of rights and liberties to enhance justice in Cameroon. The subsoils of the Vina and Jerem divisions of the Adamawa region will be able to produce 2 billion tons of bauxite by 2023, so says exploration company. About 500 athletes have begun converging on Boya to challenge the chariots in this year's Mount Cameroon Race of Hope under the theme, Let's Give Peace a Chance. The details right now. Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé. The 2020 judicial year has opened in Cameroon with a clarion call on the judiciary to protect the rights and liberties of civilians as a way of enhancing justice. The ceremony that witnessed the presence of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Joseph John Gute, cabinet members, the diplomatic corps, and national dignitaries was co-chaired by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Daniel Mekobe Sonny, and the Attorney General, Luke Jodo. Details with Quinta Rita Edang.
It was at exactly 11 a.m. this Thursday morning that members of the Supreme Court, led by the Chief Justice of the legal structure, Daniel Mekobe Sonny, and the Attorney General, Luke Jodo, made their entrance into the courtroom for the opening ceremony of the 2020 judicial year. In the presence of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Joseph John Gute, the President of the Constitutional Council, Clement Atangana, members of government, and the diplomatic corps, the Attorney General, Luke Jodo, set the ball rolling with a submission on the protection of liberties by judicial authorities in Cameroon. He stressed on the need for legal and judicial officers to uphold the precepts of equality and equity, bearing in mind that freedom is a fundamental right which must be protected by all state jurisdictions. Next in line was a keynote address by the Chief Justice Daniel Mekobe Sonny on the theme, The Challenges of Penal Protection of Payment and Lending Instrument with Respect to the Business Climate. He regretted the fact that, despite CEMAC regulations and the Cameroon penal laws geared towards protecting payment and lending instruments, the problem is still pending. The Chief Justice said it is time for members of the judiciary to acquaint themselves with the legal instruments in place. The opening ceremony of the Supreme Court is in accordance with Section 33 of the 2006 law laying down the organization and functioning of the Supreme Court.
Two important themes were developed during the opening of the judicial year. Chief Justice Daniel Mekobe Sonny elaborated on the challenges of penal protection of payment and lending instruments with prospects to the business climate, while the Procurator General Luke Jodo highlighted the protection of liberties by judicial authorities. Sidonin Jogmandi listened keenly to the two men of law.
The CEMAC law and Cameroon penal law instruments to improve the business climate in Cameroon were put into question by the Lord Justice of the Supreme Court, Daniel Mekobe Sone, during the opening of the 2020 judicial year. According to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Cameroon economy is facing difficulties and the judicial sector has a great role to play in the protection of payments and lending instruments. Daniel Mekobe Sone, in his address, also emphasized on data processing in the payment system, important points on the legal notion of the habeas corpus, which demonstrates that even in detention a human being still has rights, was also enumerated during presentations by the Procureur General of the Supreme Court, Luc Njodo. He further highlighted that in the habeas corpus legal notion, no one is to be imprisoned without a fair trial. The unique occasion also underscored the penal protection of payment techniques signed in Yaoundé on April 4, 2003.
Small and medium-sized enterprises in Cameroon will soon have an alternative source of financing known as crowdfunding. 5 government ministers led by the Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Motaze, were in Douala this Thursday to brainstorm on strategies to kick off this form of funding. Alphonse Abongo-Achi reports that crowdfunding has succeeded in many economies of the world.
5 government ministers sitting on the same table certainly speaks volumes about the subject matter on discussion. They have come to talk about crowdfunding as an alternative source of financing for the country's private sector, which make up close to 90% of the national economy.
The SMEs are facing a lot of problems to be allowed to be given credits. And this is why we are trying to look for all the sources of funding. We think that the crowdfunding could be one of the ways we can take so as to enable those SMEs to be given some credits.
The ministers of small and medium-sized enterprises, Ashir Basili Kentroa, Employment and Vocational Training, Isa Chiroma Bakari, Mines, Industries and Technological Development, Gabriel Ndodondoke, and Agriculture, Gabriel Mbairobe, accompanied Minister Louis-Paul Motaze of Finance at the National Workshop to show government's resolve in addressing this issue of funding in the private sector. And for a country where trust is so difficult to establish, how possible can crowdfunding be achieved?
When you go in the society, we don't know what we call tontine and so on. That means that there is a certain level of confidence that already exists. And we think that when an idea is a very good one, people would like to earn money.
More than 100 enterprises took part in the workshop with the goal to develop a policy document that can be used as blueprint for this form of financing in the country.
Members of the CEMAC Regional Authentication Committee are meeting in Douala to examine products submitted for certification. The certification, according to the CEMAC Commission President, Daniel Ona-Ondo, would promote intra-community trade and reduce deficit in the balance of payments in the sub-region. Scholar Maloke reports from Douala.
Since the institution of the Free Trade Zone in the CEMAC region, statistics show that the exchange rate within the sub-region stands at merely 3.5%. It is therefore to encourage member countries to benefit from the advantages of the Free Trade Zone, including free custom duties, that this Regional Authentication Committee is meeting in Douala.
We need to ensure that each product coming from east, west and north of the CEMAC region is from the country where it is coming from. This will enable this product create a value added in the entire CEMAC region, thereby create employment and provide a larger market to the producers of the products, as 54 million inhabitants of the sub-region can consume the product.
For this, these experts from the CEMAC countries will examine some 304 products submitted by Cameroon, Gabon, Central African Republic, Equatorial Guinea and Congo for authentication. Speaking at the opening ceremony, the president of the CEMAC Commission, Professor Daniel Ona-Ondo, said their aim is to see that by December 2020, the number of products benefiting from the advantages must have increased from the present-day 322 to 1,000.
The land and maritime borders between Cameroon and Congo have never been subject to a dispute or misunderstanding by the boundary pillar have over time been either deteriorated or disappeared. This was the talking point today in Douala, resounded by Cameroon's Territorial Administration Minister Paul Atanganji and Raymond Zephyrin Mbolu, leader of the Congolese delegation to the 3rd Border Demarcation Mixed Commission in Douala. Killian Dandifon reports from Douala.
The third session of the Cameroon-Congo Border Demarcation Mixed Commission in Douala opened with visible signs of peace by both delegations, also reflected in the speeches.
La frontière ne doit plus.
Boundaries should no longer be separation lines between our states. They have to be benchmarks of exchange and sharing. We reiterated in our meeting in Weso that our common borders, both land and maritime, of 460 kilometers long, had no problem, not even a misunderstanding between our peoples. Like our heads of state have said through the African Union, boundaries should be vectors of development.
Des espaces de développement.
There are no border problems or disputes between Cameroon and Congo, but the boundary markers over the years have traceability issues.
Our boundaries are marked by Franco-Germano Accord of 1908. Most of the boundary pillars have either deteriorated or disappeared. This meeting is part of a process to rehabilitate and concretize the pillars, as well as clarify crossing points in areas with water bodies.
This session of the Border Demarcation Mixed Commission is mapping out a rehabilitation and reaffirmation plan of the border markers.
All of the Vina and Jerem divisions of the Adamawa region are endowed with a huge quantity and quality of bauxite under exploration. With the exploration license, say the project is expected to produce close to 2 billion tons of bauxite when exploitation begins in 2023. Amos Enonyaketagbo presents the Minimatap and Gaundar bauxite projects.
Minimatap and Gaundar bauxite deposits were discovered in 1958 by the Cameroon Geology and Mines Department. Exploration of the deposits began in 1961 till date, with companies like Sebacam and Carl taking turns in bringing forth the qualitative and quantitative value of the deposits. Today, it is the turn of Camarco being granted 3 exploration licenses of the Minimatap bauxite project, comprised of the Minimatap, Makan and Gaundar licenses.
This project is probably one of the best aluminium bauxite projects in the world. It's an incredible deposit, probably nearly 2 billion tons worth of very high-grade aluminum. And what we found is that we can generate very stable high grades from this project.
With the exploration of all the bauxite deposits in full swing, when should the public, most especially the local population, expect dinner now that breakfast and lunch have been served?
The timelines at the moment, in the best estimates, are around about the end of 2022 for first product on a ship. It's going to require a lot of people to work this operation. And that's going to be the immediate and obvious benefit, is that there will be a very large operation, probably 1,000 people in steady state operations, where most of those are going to be able to be trained from the local population.
The Minimatap bauxite project has a potential of close to 2 billion tons when exploitation proper would kick off come 2023, according to the officials of the exploration company.
Environmental concerns and the role of the host community in the execution of the Minimatap bauxite project are key components taken into consideration by the company granted the exploration license. Ellis Wajibanmia has been finding out just how environmental issues are taken care of in the Minimatap project and sending this report.
According to officials of the Camarco Mining Company currently exploring the Minimatap bauxite project, environmental concerns are taken into consideration every step of the project.
We start looking at the environmental impacts that the mine might have. If they're going to be affecting the vegetation, if there's any protected plant and tree species. So at this stage we will be doing baseline studies. We will be following the guidelines of Cameroon in terms of the processes that needs to be followed for legislative compliance.
Taking into consideration the fact that the first beneficiary of the Minimatap project is the host community and population, the role of the the latter in ensuring a successful exploration and exploitation can't be overemphasized. Reasons why the Camarco company has recruited a community liaison officer to serve as a link between the population and the company.
I work with the traditional authority, administrative authority, local authority, and religious authority. All those communities are very happy with our work. We have many persons who work here, who stay in this region of Adamawa region. We have the geologists.
A symbiotic relationship has thus been established between Camarco and the host community for a hitch-free mining operation.
Senior health officials from the 10 regions of Cameroon are meeting in Yaoundé to elaborate an agenda for the transformation of the country's health system. During the meeting, which emphasizes on access to all for quality basic services, the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, said the main access to achieve a universal coverage lies on improving the quality of reception and care in health facilities. Alice Bay has the rest of that story.
The seminar that brought together officials from the central and external services at the Ministry of Public Health was to seek solutions on how to facilitate and professionalize Cameroonia's health system by strengthening the capacities of the heads of departments.
We have plans to finish diagnosing our various ideas and to bring out possible answers that will boost the health sector in Cameroon. We call on our collaborators to be at work so that we can come out with a system of work that can satisfy Cameroonians.
Experts elaborated on topics such as how to harmonize the level of information on the universal health coverage and how to review principles and tools for planification using the resource-based approach system.
No matter our expertise, we should be able to get an equilibrium between the expertise as well as the amount of the technical platform to make sure that we don't have doctors who cannot perform because of the amount of instruments they do not have. And we also wanted to put into context the administrative aspects of the hospital, looking into how hospital administrators can be trained in the direction of getting the goal of the Public Health Ministry.
The Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malashi, called on the improvement of the quality of reception and care in health facilities. He added, training will be given to young medical graduates to be more professional as from the moment they are deployed.
Birth registration in Cameroon has increased from barely 40 to over 60% since 2010, when civil status reforms were introduced to render registration more effective. Officials of the National Civil Status Registration Office, BUNEC, released the figures during an evaluation meeting in Yaoundé today. Rahanatu Sali reports on the ups and downs of the 10-year-old civil status reform.
The first element of the civil status reform the government has embarked on consists of the study of the status of the civil registration system in Cameroon, which has permitted the government identify the loopholes in the country's registration system. The 10-year-old reform has seen the creation of the National Civil Status Registration Office, BUNEC, regional branches in all 10 regions of the country, with the creation of 374 main centers and 2,400 secondary centers.
We have gone into the training of our staff and all the stakeholders of civil status operations.
The number of days for the declaration of birth has moved from 30 to 80 days, increasing birth registration rates, which now stands at 61%. A significant increase, experts say, but they add more needs to be done to render the registration system more efficient.
You have the introduction of the unique identification number, which means that at birth, when we start with this operation, every child that is born will bear a unique number.
BUNEC is equally working on computerizing civil status documents to help correct irregularities and combat documentary fraud.
The 2020 budget of the Ministry of Basic Education has been launched today in Yaoundé with Minister Laurent Seche-Tuningwa indicating that the sectoral budget will be moved close to schools for better management. During the launch, Professor Laurent Seche-Tuningwa insisted on best managerial practices for the improvement of the teaching and learning process. Let's listen to the minister.
It's better that all those who are in charge, some parts of the budget in terms of management being taught in these new regulations and the new legislation so that we will avoid errors and mismanagement which has occurred in the past. We want everybody to be safe in the management of this budget, being sure that the speed of management is good.
Our investigative segment today takes us to the South region on the eve of the 2020 Mother Tongue Day. In a family with both parents from different linguistic origins, the children are most often lost on which national language to speak. But that is not the case with the PATYCHOU family of Adum in Bolova. The father is Bulu and the mother Ngumba, yet their 7 kids speak both languages. What is their secret? Find out with Pontanus Lawon.
The Bitumulom family on the outskirts of Bolova comfortably switching from the Ngumba to Bulu languages of the South, 24 on 24. The genesis of the union some 33 years ago was a hard nut to crack. My mother did not approve of our marriage. Here in the South region, they say the Ngumbas do not remain in marriage. On the side of my wife, only the mother accepted me. Blessed with 7 kids, the Bitumos have today been considered a reference as far as national languages are concerned. I was worried to be discussing with my children in French all the times. When my mother came visiting, she found it difficult to share ideas with them. I was obliged to teach them gradually to speak the Ngumba. Papa was working onshore and was always absent. We used to spend our time only with the mother. We were always visited by our relatives who taught us to speak Ngumba. After his retirement, Papa had enough time to teach us Bulu. Speaking both the Bulu and Ngumba languages has been an asset in the French and Bulu-dominated zone, a great advantage for the 7 kids. Ils ont plus d'avantages. They have all the advantages. When we talk about Ngumba, it means they can understand the Batanga and Mabi languages. Simply Cameroonians, not Bulu, not Ngumba. If it has worked for the Bitumos in Bolova, it hasn't been the case for many others elsewhere.
A workshop to sensitize students, teachers, and senior administrators on violence against students and teachers at educational establishments has taken place in the Leke division of the Central Region. This was during a ceremony presided over by education officials of that part of the country. We have details from Kwanchua Marie-Claire Do of CRTV Center.
The monthly workshop that brought together principals, heads of schools, senior administrative and security officials of the Leke stems from an observation
which brings us here is violence at school. I mean violence against, from students to teachers, violence against students, violence against the administration in general of school. Some other things which have brought us here, there is drug consumption. There is alcohol consumption.
During the one-day session, attendees were therefore drilled on techniques and measures to apply so as to fight against such ills in the school milieu.
We want to have possibilities to control the situation in our division. And at this moment, when we have these possibilities, we can take our situation and control effectively. We have to search, first of all, when the students arrive at school. Then we have to search when they are at school. And we have to render the assembly on Monday obligatory
Speaking during the event, the SDO for Lekki, Patrick Simo Kamsu, exhorted both the parents and school authorities to take up their respective responsibilities to ensure safety in the school milieu. Commitment was then taken at the end by each party to step up vigilance and discipline when necessary.
The former CDU MP Patychou Ndamjoya has been elected as new mayor of Fumban for the next 5 years. She replaces her husband Adamu Ndamjoya. Emi Banda reports from Fumban.
Admin Patricia Tomaino Ndamjoya is the top brass of the Fumban Council. The former parliamentarian of the Cameroon Democratic Union steps into the shoes of her husband, Dr. Adamu Ndamjoya, who has been at the helm of the council during the last mandate. Next door, Joya Isaac will henceforth lead council affairs of the Fumban municipality. Overwhelmed with the responsibility of giving the historic business hub a facelift, he promises to serve at his best. Kilometers away from Fumban, incumbent Muben Adamu of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement renews his mandate as mayor of the Bangoren Council. He promises to complete the road construction works linking Bangoren to Fumban, seen by many as the historic cultural hub of the Noon Division. Meantime, the people of Kwoptamo remain vigilant during the ongoing council ballots to ensure that the exercise is carried out under the strict respect of the laws.
Fongo Tongo, still in the West region, Paul Dongwe will champion the development drive of the locality for the next 5 years. The newly elected mayor of Fongo Tongo won the hearts of the electorate with his development-oriented ideas. Beatrice Ngom.
The new mayor of Fongo Tongo in the West region will have as challenge to give the municipality a lift. The newly elected Paul Ndonge will have to rehabilitate the town in terms of road infrastructure, potable water, rural electrification, and lots more.
We have much to do, and the hard work is beginning now.
The civil engineer will be assisted in this duty by Francois Tanefo and Pauline Nangfak, respectively, and second deputy mayors. The new executive of Fongo Tongo will therefore have as task to improve on the livelihoods of the populations.
Monsignor Jean-Baptiste Aimé, former Secretary General of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon, has been buried today in Yaoundé during a funeral mass at the Mvoile Basilica. The Metropolitan Archbishop of Yaoundé, Monsignor Jean Barga, described him as a real man of service. The 91-year-old cleric who officiated the wedding of President Paul Biya and his wife Chantal died last February 12. Details with Cynthia Saptala.
Monseigneur Jean-Baptiste Amier on his final journey. A journey that began in 1940 at the Akono Minor Seminary, where he studied alongside the President of the Republic. He later pursued studies in philosophy and theology with the Congregation of the Holy Spirit in France to become one of the first Spiritan fathers in Cameroon alongside the late Monseigneur Athanase Mbala.
Monseigneur Jean-Baptiste Amier was a great pastor. He was also a wonderful man enculturating in his culture, living faith and culture together. He was in the first of the nation, the first steps of the nation. He contributed a lot to help our country to be independent.
Visible traces of his contribution is the Roman Missal translated into Ewondo during his time at the Archdiocese of Yaoundé. In 1970, Monseigneur Jean-Baptiste Amier was appointed for 2 terms, Secretary General of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon.
In the church, he was one of the actors who succeeded to implement Second Vatican Council. In general, he was a real man of the service.
A service that prompted Pope Benedict XVI to entrust him the role of chaplain of His Holiness, one that comes with the title Monsignor. After more than 60 years of priesthood, he died at the age of 91 and now rests at the cemetery of the Mary Queen of the Apostles Basilica in Yaoundé.
Experts in the maritime sector specialized in external trade in Africa and members of the Cameroon National Shippers Council are in Douala for their first ordinary steering committee meeting of the Union of African Shippers Council. For 3 days, representatives from 19 member states will, amongst other things, present their 2020 budgets for the union. Details with Mercy Ashu in Douala.
It is the first ordinary steering committee meeting of the Union of African Shippers Council in the year 2020. Representatives from all 19 member states are again glad to be in the headquarters Douala to discuss, compare notes and chart the way forward.
We see together what we have done last year, but mostly the action we have to plan for this new year. And in this meeting also we are going to adopt the budget. What I want to say is that shippers, our traditional mission are to facilitate the international trade of our economic operators.
What is sure, every member country from Ivory Coast to Angola and Ghana, to mention but these, have their fair share of challenges and strategies that need to be addressed at such a forum to promote sub-regional integration in the maritime sector.
When it comes to our shippers, it's a question of charges. Some charges that are usually arbitrary, We aim to negotiate with all service providers before they introduce any charges. And then, of course, there are some non-tariff barriers, like police, harassment of our shippers, particularly on our transit corridor.
Lauding the Cameroon National Shippers Council for scoring a 4.1% growth rate in 2019, the Littoral Governor Samuel Dieudonné Ivahadiboa remained hopeful that discussions will reduce the time on transactions in spite of security challenges in the country.
More than 500 athletes are expected in Boya as from tomorrow for the 25th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope under the theme Let's Give Peace a Chance. Organizers are putting all hands on deck to ensure that a successful major international sporting event takes place on Saturday. Details with Yvonne Esame Ngoyo.
Boya, the capital of the Southwest region, is gearing towards the 25th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope this Saturday, the 22nd of February 2020. Few days to go, preparations are intensifying at different levels.
I'm going to publish the list of 500 and above athletes who are supposed to be part and parcel of that race, and immediately that list is published tomorrow, then the medical team has to go ahead to start doing preparations for the medicals. The mountain was cleared 2 weeks ago ahead of time and has been painted. The track has been painted, and I'm sure the athletes are going to find it good for them to go up.
Athletes are taking their turns at the Southwest Athletic League to collect their licenses and finalize registration processes.
I came here to collect my license, which is the last stage for as far as the registration for the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope is concerned. So from this stage, we'll be preparing for the medical checkup.
I've prepared for 6 months now, and last week I had my last training. I went right to the summit, so I'm very, very ready.
Hostesses are currently being trained to give the event the grandeur it deserves.
We are training to receive the ministers, the foreigners who will be here, their visitors who will be here. I've been trained on so many things on how to receive people.
In the days ahead, preparations continue in the Southwest region in line with making this year's edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope a great success.
And the 7:30 news on CRTV. Join Adele Mbala in exactly 28 minutes for the news in the French language. Tomorrow, you shall be in the company of Staff Lady Gadis Tata. I am Moki Edwin Kinsakan Yaundi. Thanking you for watching.